Hello, and welcome back. Let's talk about you today. Yes. Also, when we're talking about you, also talking about me and your worst political enemy and your hot, sexy lover, your spouse, your kids, your neighbor, your friends, people that aren't your friends, your Yes, your work colleagues, people that live on the other side of the world, whom you'll never meet in this lifetime, everyone. We're talking about everybody today, and the title of this discussion is The Thought of God. When I was a kid, suffering through what seemed like the latest of the interminable, and I do mean endless and interminable Sunday school lessons where I was just thinking about anything else and being anywhere else. I often thought, okay, well, what is God thinking? Right? What's he really thinking about? I mean, is he belly up to the bar? Is he watching a football game on TV? Is he out hiking? Is he playing golf? Is he asleep? Right? Is he eating dinner? I mean, those are the kinds of things that I used to think. And I used to laugh to myself. I made myself laugh. Anybody else laugh at their own jokes? You don't have to self-identify on that one. But I used to think about this, and sometimes this flicker of thought would pop into my mind. The Holy Spirit placed it there and said, yeah, think about this. You're the thought of God. So is everybody else. You are the thought of God. Ooh, how about that? Yes, now fast forward several decades to my studying and practicing A Course in Miracles, just like you're doing right now. And I'm also doing, because I'm a continual student of this course right along with you. Fast forward, and well, this really confirms a lot, doesn't it? You are the thought of God. Chapter 3, Section 5 of the text, Beyond Perception, we're looking specifically today at the material in paragraphs 7 and 8. I'm laughing because, as always, I invite you to read those paragraphs. And if you're so inclined, to read them more than once. And all of that, of course, is no substitute for the practical application of true forgiveness. We only learn this course truly by doing it. So we have right away a sentence, a thought that needs reinterpretation. Why does it need reinterpretation? Jesus said so, which is definitely good enough for me. He says, reinterpret this. Let's do that. God created man in his own image. We've all heard that. And if you were raised in a Judeo-Christian tradition like I was, that's hence my reference to Sunday school. If you haven't seen any of these videos yet, I was raised in two different fundamentalist Christian traditions. I'm quite familiar with them and quite familiar with the Bible. And I'm also quite familiar with the Quran and Buddhism and a lot of other things. And well, this course has been my main spiritual focus since 2013. So I've heard this, you've heard this. God created man in his own image. Now, ego thinks, oh, yeah, he created in his own image. He must look like this. Yeah, he must look in the mirror and think, oh, man, well, I got some gray hair, but I'm okay looking or something like that, right? No. First of all, man or woman. I mean, either way, we're not a body. So guess what? We're not. If we're spirit, what are we not? If we are eternal and unchanging, one with God Himself, we are not human beings. We're not bodies running around, eating, sleeping, defecating, and checking our email. It's not who we are. So, of course, God created us in His image. Jesus, right here in paragraph 7, invites us to reinterpret image as thought. God doesn't do images, by the way. He doesn't look in a mirror and look at a reflection in a mirror and say, oh, well, you know, I guess I'm having a bad hair day. That's really rare for me, right? But maybe you have the opposite experience. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. God doesn't do image, so thought. You are the thought of God, the extension of God. Love extends itself. And guess what? Only itself. Love doesn't extend hatred. Love doesn't extend bad hair days. Love doesn't extend frustration and blame and judgment and condemnation and sadness and depression and fear. Love doesn't know those things. Love only extends itself. Perfect love only extends perfect love. God extends Himself. You are the thought of God. This is who we are. We're simply having this experience, waking up to that. It's likened, this world is likened to a dream, which it is. It's an illusion. It's not our reality and it's not our home. This is the non-dual teaching of A Course in Miracles. Is it for everybody? Well, in this lifetime where there are many, many spiritual traditions, it's inevitable that this will appeal to some and not to others. And if you're just checking this out and you think, yeah, no problem. There are many doors. All of them lead to the same place in the end. All of them. Every last one of them leads to God in the end. This, A Course in Miracles, is just one door. It's one version of what Jesus refers to as the universal course, a universal curriculum. Awakening is that universal curriculum where we awaken from the dream of separation and death and suffering and too much email. So only God is. In A Course in Miracles, you will see the two-word sentence, God is, referred to in several different places. That's as close as we get in the symbolic language of words. Language itself is symbolic. The word's not the thing it stands for, and the thing it stands for, body, is not real. That's just one example. It's as close as we come in language, in this communication mechanism. God is. Now, what's implicit there is the only God is. There is nothing else. you may be thinking that, well, of course there's something else. There's this body. There are other bodies. There is my job that I have to go to this afternoon. There is the bill that I have to pay. There's the dog to feed, and on and on and on and on. Well, what we do in this world of appearances, illusory appearances, is we train our mind. This is a course in mind training. What we're doing is we're clarifying our perception, the way we see things. We're learning to see things as our inner teacher sees them, as the Holy Spirit sees them, rather than as we see them ourselves. Ourselves, we think we're an individual out to do our thing. And the Holy Spirit invites us to see our brother as one with us, as one with God. The verbal math is as God, isn't it? Not the body. We're not a body. We're invited to clarify our perception with this course. And only then can we truly know who we are. Knowledge is beyond perception. It's said here that perception takes you just about all the way to awakening, and God takes the final step himself. Because our reality is beyond perception. By its very definition, perception involves a perceiver and a perceived, a subject and an object. This is duality, two: subject, object, perceiver, perceived, self, other. That's how we're conditioned to see the world, ourselves, and everyone in it. In this course, what we're after is a complete 180. We're changing our mind. We're clarifying our perception. We're using the power of choice in the present moment. We're using mind, the mind, one mind, not 8 billion minds, but the one mind. We're using mind to choose our reality as spirit in place of our illusion as a separate individual. We're choosing God over the ego. We're choosing love over fear. This is the choice that we make in the present moment. And we appear to be on a path that we call it a path, we call it a journey, we call it a trajectory, a walk, if you prefer. We appear to be on this journey in what we have perceived as linear time. And while we appear to be here, we have a choice in the present moment. Which we choose determines our mindset in the next moment. So if you're thinking that you can completely switch the way you see yourself and others, yeah, you can. And what's more, you will. We all will. When? I don't know when. At some point. How do I know? It's already happened. What we perceive as linear time is simply a perception. We're eternal and changeless, one with God. That does mean that Ultimately, there is no time. There's no separation of any kind. So we cannot separate ourselves or our brother or anyone else into epochs or hours, minutes, centuries, larger periods of time, light years. We can't separate. That also means that there's no space, there's no distance, there's no gap in between people or things. There's only perfect oneness. We are on what appears to be a journey of waking up to that. And here in the world, what do? We get in our own way. We judge, we blame, we see ourselves as separate, and we act accordingly. We react accordingly. We preemptively strike. We waste our time and energy planning a defense mechanism for when we're certain that our neighbor's going to come get us. He's going to lash out at us. They're going to start an argument with us. Somebody's going to sue us, or they're going to try to start shit when we walk down the street because they don't like our dog. And maybe they're also having a bad day to boot. So they're that much more likely to lash out. Well, we better prepare ourselves for that. And how much time do we spend orchestrating and cogitating on things that never happen? We've all had the experience of worrying tremendously, too much about something that never happened. So as we spin, we really spin our wheels, don't we, here in the world? And as we sit here spinning, it's worth asking, okay, what would happen to this perception if we didn't have any judgments? If we really did experience perfect oneness, perception would be impossible. Perception involves a subject and an object. In perfect oneness, there is no perception. In knowing who we are, there is no perception. Truth can only be known, furthermore. This is an interesting point that we should spend a couple of minutes on. Truth can only be known. It cannot be perceived. Again, perception involves subject-object duality. Truth can only be known. And furthermore, to know one part of it is to know the whole, because it is whole. Truth is whole and complete. To know one part is to know the whole. It cannot be separated. You cannot know partially. That's perception. Knowledge is not compartmentalized. We cannot know some things and not others. Knowledge is total. It's complete. It's one. It's whole. So what are we doing on this journey? Well, we're learning to perceive truly so that we can know ourselves. At the end of paragraph 8, we're told that to know God's miracle is to know him. So, who's God's miracle? You are. I am. We all are. This includes your abusive ex. It does. It does. It includes your worst political enemy. It includes your boss at work. It includes your boss's corporate boss, who stresses out your boss, who in turn stresses you out. It includes all of us. It's perfect oneness. You are the thought of God. Yes. Just yes. Let's let that one sink in. This is our reality. This is truth. It's what we're awakening to because we've never left it. All of this is a dream. So let's wake up from it, shall we? As always, I thank you for tuning in here and for joining me. Thank you to all of you who have recently subscribed, by the way. This button right here, the red arrow, is the subscription button. I'd love to have you join me, and I welcome comments and questions. Here in the comments to this video, I will place the link to my Patreon page, where on the 11th of February, I'll be starting a weekly live stream. I'm envisioning longer conversations with live Q&A up to an hour, and we can go into more depth and detail about these teachings and our experience with them. Now, these videos will, of course, continue because repetition is key. Consistency is key. Mind training is forming a new set of mental habits and learning to perceive completely differently than we've been taught involves repetition. It does. So these videos will continue. Again, comments and questions are more than welcome. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you so much, as always, for tuning in, and I will talk to you soon.